Commander Allison Wright sat at her desk in the quiet hours of the night. Most of NASA's staff had gone home hours ago, but she remained, her eyes fixed on the data scrolling across her screen. For 3 weeks, she had tracked an unusual signal coming from Jupiter's moon Europa. At first, she thought it was just background noise, but the pattern was too regular, too precise. She took a sip of her cold coffee and rubbed her tired eyes. The signal appeared again, stronger this time. Allison's heart beat faster as she adjusted the deep space receiver. This was no random cosmic noise. "Frank, come look at this," she called to her colleague who was dozing in the chair nearby. Dr. Frank Morales jolted awake and shuffled over to her station. His white lab coat was wrinkled from his impromptu nap. "What am I looking at?" he asked, squinting at the screen. "The Europa signal. I've isolated it and run it through the new decryption program. Look at these symbols." Frank leaned closer. "That's not any language I recognize." "Exactly," Allison said. "But look at this sequence here." She pointed to a recurring pattern in the data. "It repeats every 42 minutes, and if you convert it to binary, then to ASCII." Frank's eyes widened as the translation appeared on screen. Earth followed by Galactic Council and ASCII. "This can't be right," he whispered. "Are you saying someone, or something, is talking about Earth?" Allison finished his thought. "They're discussing us, Frank." Over the next 2 weeks, Allison and Frank worked tirelessly. They told no one else about the signal, fearing they might be wrong, or worse, that they might be right. They created more powerful algorithms to decode the increasingly complex transmissions. On a rainy Tuesday morning, they finally broke through. "It's a meeting agenda," Allison said, her voice shaking slightly. "The Galactic Council is gathering on Europa in 3 months to discuss Earth's status. There's something about an experiment and a containment protocol." Frank paced the small lab. "We need to tell someone." "Who would believe us?" Allison asked, but she knew he was right. They went to their director, who called the Pentagon, who informed the president. Within 72 hours, Allison and Frank found themselves in an underground facility, explaining their findings to grim-faced government officials. "You're certain this signal is authentic?" asked General Patricia Hayes, her voice stern but her eyes betraying her concern. "As certain as we can be," Allison replied. "The encryption was beyond any Earth technology. We couldn't have made this up if we tried." "Then we have 3 months to prepare," said a man who had only identified himself as Agent Clark from a department they'd never heard of. A week later, Allison met the team. Navy SEAL John Harrington stood with perfect posture, his calm demeanor masking the warrior within. Dr. Samantha Collins, the xenolinguist, studied the signal translations with intense focus, adding notes in a language Allison didn't recognize. "We're calling this Operation Stargazer," Agent Clark announced. "Your mission is to reach Europa, infiltrate the meeting site, and gather intelligence about the Council's plans for Earth." "You want us to spy on aliens?" John asked, his voice steady despite the absurdity of the question. "That's exactly what we want," General Hayes confirmed. "We've been developing experimental stealth technology for deep space travel. The ship Venture Beyond is being prepared as we speak." Samantha looked up from her notes. "These transmissions suggest multiple species will attend. If I can observe them, I might be able to create a translation matrix." Allison stared at the mission brief. Her simple discovery had cascaded into humanity's first contact scenario, not with friendly visitors coming to Earth, but with a secret council that had apparently been watching humanity for who knew how long. "What if they detect us?" Frank asked the question on everyone's mind. General Hayes' expression darkened. "Then you make sure Earth knows exactly what we're facing before they silence you." Allison felt a chill run down her spine. In just a month, she had gone from studying distant stars to preparing to meet their inhabitants. And based on the fragments they'd decoded about containment and assessment, She wasn't sure humanity would like the Council's conclusions. The venture beyond cut silently through the darkness of space. Allison looked out the small window at the stars streaking by. The ship used technology she barely understood, a combination of stealth systems and a new drive that bent space in ways that should have been impossible. 2 days until we reach Europa, John said as he floated into the cabin. In the 2 months of training, the Navy SEAL had become the unofficial leader of their small team. Samantha worked nearby, surrounded by floating screens showing the alien transmissions. "I think I've found patterns in at least 12 different languages," she said. "If my theory is right, I can program the neural translator to help us understand them." Frank tapped at his own screen, monitoring the experimental stealth field. "As long as it keeps us invisible, we should be able to slip into orbit unnoticed." The ship suddenly shuddered. Everyone grabbed for handholds. "What was that?" Allison asked. Frank's face paled as he stared at his screen. "Patrol ship. It's not from Earth." They held their breath as the alien vessel passed nearby. It was sleek and silver, with no visible engines but moving faster than any human craft could. The patrol ship paused, seemed to scan the area, then continued on its way. "That was close," John whispered, though there was no way the aliens could have heard him. 3 more times during their journey, they encountered alien ships. Each time, they powered down all systems except life support and drifted silently until the danger passed. When they finally reached Europa, they were greeted by an incredible sight. Beneath the moon's icy surface, lights glowed. Using the ship's advanced sensors, they detected a massive structure hidden below. "It's like an entire city down there," Allison said in awe. John checked his gear. "The drill pods are ready. We'll use them to melt through the ice at a thin point, then use the underwater propulsion devices to reach the structure." "Remember," Frank added, "we're just here to observe and gather intelligence. No direct contact." The team suited up in the special thermal suits designed to protect them in the freezing waters of Europa. The neural translators that Samantha had perfected were implanted behind their ears, small devices that would analyze alien speech patterns and translate them directly into their brains. They boarded the 2 drill pods, Allison and Frank in one, John and Samantha in the other. The pods detached from the venture beyond and descended toward Europa's surface. Beginning ice penetration, Frank announced over the comlink as their pod activated its thermal drill. The ice was thick, but the drill cut through steadily. After 20 minutes, they broke through into the dark waters below. The pods converted to underwater mode, and they navigated deeper. As they approached the alien structure, they were stunned by its size and complexity. It was a vast dome with smaller buildings inside it, all glowing with soft blue and green lights. Ships came and went through special airlocks. "Look at the different designs," Samantha said excitedly. "Each must belong to a different species." They found an unused maintenance tunnel and docked their pods there. After making sure their suits were secure, they exited into the tunnel. "The air is breathable," Frank confirmed after checking his instruments. They moved carefully through the dimly lit passage until they reached a grate overlooking a massive chamber. Below them, hundreds of aliens of various shapes, sizes, and colors moved about. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some floated, some had scales, others fur, and still others appeared to be made of crystal or light. "The council chamber must be ahead," Samantha whispered as her neural translator worked overtime processing the dozens of languages being spoken below. John found a maintenance path that would allow them to move unseen above the crowds. "This way," he said, taking point. As they crawled through the narrow passage, they began to hear snippets of translated conversation in their minds. The human situation must be addressed. Developing too quickly. The experiment may need to be terminated. Allison felt her blood run cold. Whatever this council was planning, it didn't sound good for Earth. There, John pointed to an opening ahead that overlooked a circular room with a large table in the center. "That must be the main council chamber." They settled into position, hidden but with a clear view. John set up a small recording device while Samantha fine-tuned their translators. "The Grand Council of Galactic Species will now come to order," announced a tall, gray being as it took its position at the head of the table. The secret meeting they had traveled so far to witness was about to begin. The tall gray being tapped a crystal rod against the table. The sound echoed throughout the chamber, and all the alien representatives fell silent. "I am Grand Arbiter Clorlax of the Zintheri," the being said. "We gather today to discuss the Earth situation." John adjusted the recording device while Samantha fine-tuned their neural translators. Allison and Frank watched in stunned silence as holographic images of Earth appeared in the center of the council table. "The human experiment has reached a critical point," Clorlax continued. "For those new to the council, I will provide background." The hologram shifted to show early humans, then rapid images of human evolution and civilization. 10,000 years ago, our ancestors created a controlled experiment. They combined genetic material from 17 species across the galaxy to create humans. They placed them on Earth, wiped their memory of their origins, and isolated them to see how they would develop. Allison gasped. Frank quickly put his hand over her mouth. "Earth was to be a control group," Clorlax explained. "A way to observe how a mixed-species civilization would develop without outside influence. The experiment was meant to last another 5,000 years. A blue-skinned alien with 4 arms stood up. "Yet they have already begun developing faster-than-light technology. Our predictions said this would take them at least 3 more centuries." "Correct, Science Director Vreen." Clorlax nodded. "Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented. Some see this as cause for concern, others as a sign of success." The hologram changed to show Earth's current technology, including designs for experimental space drives that Allison recognized from classified NASA projects. "They're spying on us," Frank whispered. "They know everything we're doing." A reptilian alien with red scales spoke next. "The humans are dangerous. They developed nuclear weapons only moments after discovering atomic energy. They wage constant wars among themselves. Imagine what they will do when they discover other worlds." Several council members nodded in agreement. "That is one perspective, Ambassador Drex," Clorlax acknowledged. "But there are others." A slender being that seemed made of light and mist floated up. "Humans have also shown remarkable resilience and creativity. They create art, music, and literature of great beauty. They adapt to challenges in ways none of our species can match." "Pretty words," Ambassador Ellerin, the reptilian alien, hissed. "But sentiment cannot outweigh safety. I propose we implement the containment protocol. We end the experiment now." A murmur spread through the chamber. "End it? You mean destroy Earth?" asked the small green being. "Not destroy," Ambassador Drex clarified. "We would simply reset, remove the current humans, and start again with better controls." Allison felt sick. They were discussing wiping out humanity as casually as deleting a computer file. "There is another option," said a tall blue alien. "We could reveal ourselves. Welcome humans into the galactic community." "Premature contact has failed in 93% of similar cases," Science Director Vreen responded. "Most species cannot handle the truth about their origins." John looked at his teammates. "We need to hear more, but we should also prepare an emergency message to Earth. If something happens to us, they need to know." Frank nodded and began quietly setting up a small transmitter that could send a compressed data burst back to their ship and then to Earth. "The Council will now present arguments," Clorlax announced. "Each representative will have time to speak. We will vote on Earth's fate in 3 cycles." As the various aliens began to present their views, Samantha's translator caught a whispered conversation between 2 smaller aliens sitting near the back. "The Drakari representatives seem unusually interested in this matter," one said. "They have always believed the human genetic mixture included too many aggressive traits." The other replied, "They fear what humans might become." "Where are the Drakari now?" asked the first. Their battlecruiser arrived yesterday, but their ambassadors are not here. Strange, isn't it? Samantha tapped John's shoulder and pointed to a group of stern-looking aliens entering the chamber. They wore black armor with red symbols. "I think those are the Drakari," she whispered. "And they don't look happy." The council meeting continued, unaware that humans were listening to every word, learning the shocking truth about their own creation and the debate over their future. Earth's fate hung in the balance, and only 4 humans knew about it. As the council debate continued, a new alien rose to speak. This one was tall with flowing blue skin that rippled like water. 4 arms gestured gracefully as it addressed the council. "I am Representative Ellerin of the HFY Federation," the alien said. "For 300 years, I have studied the human experiment, and I must speak in their defense." The chamber grew quiet. "Humans solve problems in ways none of us predicted," Ellerin continued. "When faced with challenges, they create solutions our greatest minds would not consider. This adaptability is unique in our galaxy." Holographic images appeared showing human inventions and discoveries. They went from first flight to landing on their moon in just 66 years, Ellerin pointed out. "No other species has matched this pace. Yes, they can be violent and unpredictable, but these same qualities drive their creativity." Several council members nodded in agreement. A small purple alien with large eyes stood next. "The Observers Guild agrees. We have watched humans overcome diseases, natural disasters, and their own mistakes. They learn quickly and rarely make the same error twice." Allison glanced at her teammates. For the first time since the meeting began, she felt a spark of hope. "We should vote now," the reptilian ambassador Drex hissed. "The longer we wait, the closer humans come to discovering us on their own terms." "Patience, Ambassador," Grand Arbiter Korlax replied. "All voices must be heard." The team continued recording as more aliens spoke. About half supported bringing humans into the galactic community, while the others favored containment or reset. Suddenly, John tensed. "Someone's coming," he whispered. They heard footsteps approaching their hiding spot. John readied his weapon, but Samantha put her hand on his arm and shook her head. A panel in the wall slid open, revealing the humanoid figure. He looked completely human, a man with brown hair and a clean-shaven face. "Don't shoot," the stranger whispered in perfect English. "I'm Keith Bennett. I'm human, like you." The team stared in shock. "How is that possible?" Frank asked. "How are you here?" "Some of us have known about the council for generations," Keith explained quickly. "I'm part of a group that works with friendly aliens. We've been watching you since you left Earth. Why didn't you contact us sooner?" Allison demanded. "We needed to be sure why you came," Keith replied. "There are humans who would steal alien technology for power rather than seek understanding. We're just here to learn what the council plans for Earth," John said. Keith nodded. "Then we have the same goal. Come with me. There's a safer place to watch and listen." They followed Keith through hidden passages until they reached a small room with screens showing different views of the council chamber. "Not all council members want to harm humanity," Keith explained. "Representatives like Ellerin have been our allies for years. They believe humans deserve a chance to join the galactic community." On the screens, they watched as a new group of aliens entered the council chamber. They were tall with crystal-like skin that caught and reflected light. "The luminary representatives," Keith said. "They're among our strongest supporters." The lead luminary spoke to the council. "We propose an alternative. Rather than vote on humanity's fate today, let us send observers to Earth openly. Let humans learn about us gradually, preparing them for full contact." Ambassador Drex slammed his fist on the table. "Unacceptable. Humans are not ready. They will never be ready." "We disagree," the luminary replied calmly. "Our studies suggest 60% of humans would welcome peaceful contact." As the debate grew more heated, Samantha noticed something on one of the screens. Those Drakari representatives are leaving the chamber. Why would they leave during such an important discussion? Keith's expression darkened. The Drakari rarely act openly. If they're making a move during the council meeting. John finished his thought. Then they're planning something they don't want the council to know about. We need to follow them, Keith said. The Drakari have always been the most hostile toward humanity. If they're planning something, it can't be good for Earth, Allison said grimly. Keith led the team through narrow maintenance tunnels that ran between the walls of the massive alien structure. They moved quietly, following the path Keith said would lead to the Drakari ship docking area. The Drakari are one of the oldest species in the council, Keith explained as they walked. They believe they should control which races are allowed to advance. And they don't want humans on that list, John said. Exactly. They've opposed the human experiment from the beginning. They reached a junction in the tunnels. Keith checked a small device on his wrist, then pointed left. This way. As they turned the corner, they saw 2 Drakari guards standing in the corridor ahead. The team quickly ducked back. We need a distraction, John whispered. Before they could plan one, they heard footsteps behind them. Everyone turned, ready to defend themselves. But it was Lieutenant Patricia Douglas, the 5th member of their team who would stay behind on the ship as their communications specialist. Patricia. Allison whispered in surprise. What are you doing here? You were supposed to stay with the ship. I received strange energy readings and came to warn you. Patricia said, but something in her voice sounded wrong. Keith's eyes narrowed. How did you find us in these tunnels? Patricia pulled out a small device. I track your neural implants. Before anyone could react, Patricia pressed a button on the device. A high-pitched sound filled the air. The team collapsed to their knees, their hands over their ears in pain. What are you doing? Samantha gasped. Patricia smiled coldly. My real mission. I don't work for NASA or the Pentagon. I represent Earth's Technological Acquisition Division. We don't care about saving humanity. We want alien technology, and the Drakari are willing to trade. The Drakari guards appeared, alerted by the noise. They pointed weapons at the humans. You betrayed Earth, Frank said in disbelief. I secured Earth's future, Patricia corrected him. The Drakari will spare our leadership and give us advanced weapons in exchange for information about Earth's defenses. The Drakari dragged the team to their feet. Keith managed to hit a button on his wrist device before they took it from him. Take them to the holding cells, Patricia ordered, except for the woman. She pointed at Allison. The Drakari want to question her about Earth's space technology. The guards separated Allison from the group. As they were led away in different directions, John shouted, Stay strong. We'll find you. The Drakari took John, Samantha, Frank, and Keith to a small room with energy fields serving as cell doors. They threw them inside and activated the fields. What do the Drakari want? Samantha asked Keith once the guards left. To eliminate the human threat before it begins, Keith replied grimly. They'd been planning this for years. Meanwhile, Patricia led Allison to a large chamber where several Drakari were gathered around holographic displays showing Earth's solar system. The human scientist is here, Patricia announced. The lead Drakari turned. His scales were darker red than the others, with black markings that looked like battle scars. I am Fleet Commander Zorax, he said. Your presence here is unexpected but useful. What are you planning? Allison demanded. Zorax gestured to the hologram. Look closely, human. Allison looked and gasped. The displays showed small devices positioned throughout the solar system, near Earth, the Moon, Mars, and other strategic points. Antimatter bombs, Zorax said simply. Enough power to destroy all life in your system. But the Council hasn't voted yet, Allison protested. The Council talks while threats grow, Zorax hissed. We act. Humans are dangerous, a genetic mistake that must be corrected. You can't do this. Patricia laughed. They can and will. But don't worry, Those of us who cooperate will be taken off-world first. How many people get to live? Allison asked, her voice shaking. Enough to serve our needs, Zorax replied. The rest are unnecessary. Allison looked at the countdown timer on the main display. Less than 6 hours remained before the bombs would detonate. Earth had no idea what was coming, and the only humans who knew were either prisoners or traitors. In the holding cell, Samantha sat with her eyes closed, focusing on the neural translator behind her ear. John watched her with concern. "What are you doing?" he whispered. "The translator works both ways," Samantha replied quietly. "It's connected to my brain. I think I can use it to interact with the energy field." Frank moved closer. "How is that possible?" "The translator had to learn how alien technology works to help us understand it," Samantha explained. "I've been studying how it processes information, if I can access its deeper functions." She winced suddenly, then smiled. "There. I can feel the control system." Across the room, Keith had his ear pressed against the wall. "Guards coming," he warned. Samantha quickly stopped what she was doing and pretended to be resting. 2 Drakari guards entered the room. "The council has called an emergency session," one guard said to the other. "The human infiltration has been announced." "How did they find out?" the second guard asked. "Unknown, but Grand Arbiter Korlax has ordered an immediate vote on the human question." The guards checked the cells, then left. "This is bad," Keith said. "If the council votes now, with the fear of human spies fresh in their minds, they'll vote to contain us," Frank finished. Samantha returned to working with her neural implant. "Almost there," she muttered. "Just a few more." The energy field flickered, then disappeared. "How did you do that?" John asked in amazement. "I convinced it we weren't here," Samantha said with a tired smile. "But we need to hurry. It won't last long." John checked the corridor. "Clear. Let's move." Meanwhile, Allison was trying to find a way to warn someone about the Drakari bombs. Patricia had left her under guard while she went to meet with other Drakari officials. The 2 guards watched Allison closely, their weapons ready. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. The guards looked at each other in confusion. "What is happening?" one asked. A voice came over a communication system, speaking in the Drakari language. The guards seemed alarmed by the message. "Watch her," one guard said to the other. "I will check." As soon as the first guard left, Allison saw her chance. She had been quietly working at the restraints that held her to the chair. The neural translator had helped her understand how the simple lock worked. With a final twist, she freed herself. The remaining guard turned just as Allison lunged forward. She wasn't a fighter like John, but surprise was on her side. She knocked the guard off balance and ran for the door. In the council chamber, chaos had erupted. News of human spies and Drakari plots spread quickly through the assembled aliens. Grand Arbiter Korlax tried to maintain order. "We will vote now," Korlax announced, banging the crystal rod for attention. "The human question must be settled." Representative Ellerin stood. "We cannot vote without investigating these claims about Drakari weapons. If they have placed bombs in the Earth system without council approval." "Rumors and distractions," Ambassador Drex interrupted. "The humans have spied on us. Proof they cannot be trusted." The chamber divided into shouting factions. Sorlax banged the rod again and again, trying to restore order. John, Samantha, Frank, and Keith moved quickly through the maintenance tunnels, trying to find Allison. "The emergency exit is this way," Keith said, pointing ahead. "If we can get to it, we can reach my ship." "We're not leaving without Allison," John insisted. "And we can't leave knowing those bombs are out there," Frank added. As they turned a corner, they nearly collided with someone running from the opposite direction. It was Allison. "You escaped," Samantha cried, hugging her. "The Drakari have planted bombs throughout our solar system," Allison said breathlessly. "They're set to go off in less than 5 hours." Keith checked his recovered wrist device. "My people are scrambling to find them, but we need the detonation codes." I saw them, Allison said, in the control room. But Patricia and the Drakari are there. John's expression hardened. Then that's where we're going. But the council is voting right now, Keith warned. We need to tell them what's happening. Split up, John decided. Keith, take Samantha to the council. Her translator skills will help convince them. The rest of us will go for those codes. The team looked at each other, knowing this might be their last chance to save Earth. Keith guided Samantha toward the council chamber while John, Allison, and Frank headed for the Drakari control room. They moved quickly through the maintenance tunnels, avoiding the main corridors where guards searched for the escaped humans. We're almost there, Keith whispered to Samantha as they reached a small door. This leads to a service area behind the council seats. In the chamber beyond, they could hear the heated debate continuing. Thorlax was trying to call for a vote, but many representatives were demanding to investigate the Drakari accusations first. What's our plan? Samantha asked. We need to get you to the speaking floor, Keith said. Your status as an uninvited human will cause shock, but it might be the only way to make them listen. Won't they just arrest me? Probably, but not before you can speak. Meanwhile, John, Allison, and Frank approached the Drakari control room. 2 guards stood outside the door. We need a distraction, John said. Frank looked at the ceiling and spotted environmental controls. I have an idea, he whispered. He carefully removed a panel and began reworking the wiring. Seconds later, the lights in the corridor flickered and went out. Emergency lighting cast everything in a dim red glow. The guards looked around in confusion. John moved silently behind them and quickly subdued them both. Nice work, Allison said as they took the guards' weapons. They entered the control room to find Patricia working at a console. She spun around in surprise. How did you escape? She demanded, reaching for a weapon. John pointed his borrowed alien gun at her. Step away from the console. Patricia smiled coldly. Too late. The countdown is locked. Even Commander Zorax can't stop it now. Allison pushed past her to the console. Frank, help me figure this out. There must be an override. Back at the council chamber, Keith and Samantha waited for the right moment. Through a crack in the door, they watched the proceedings grow more chaotic. The humans have violated our most sacred laws by spying on this council, Ambassador Drex was saying. They must be contained before they spread further. We still don't know if the accusations against the Drakari are true, Representative Ellerin countered. We cannot vote while such questions remain. Sorlax banged his crystal rod. Order. We will have order. Keith nodded to Samantha. Now, while there's confusion. Taking a deep breath, Samantha pushed through the door and walked directly onto the council floor. Gasps and shouts erupted from the assembled aliens. A human. Someone cried. Guards, called another. Sorlax stood in shock. How did you get in here? Samantha walked to the center of the room, where all could see her. Guards moved to intercept her, but Ellerin raised a hand to stop them. Let her speak, the Aquarai representative said. This is unprecedented. Samantha looked around at the faces of hundreds of alien species. Her heart pounded, but she stood tall. My name is Dr. Samantha Collins of Earth, she began, her neural translator broadcasting her words in all council languages simultaneously. I come before you because the Drakari have placed antimatter bombs throughout our solar system. They plan to destroy Earth without your approval. The chamber erupted once more. Sorlax banged his rod repeatedly. These are serious accusations, he said when the noise died down. They're true, Samantha replied. My team found evidence in the Drakari control center. The bombs will detonate in less than 4 hours. Representative Ellerin moved to stand beside Samantha. I vouch for this human's right to be heard. In the control room, Frank and Allison worked frantically at the Drakari console, while John kept his weapon trained on Patricia. The system is locked, Frank said in frustration. I can't override the countdown. Keep trying, Allison urged. Look at this section here. The bombs need activation codes to detonate, which were already sent, Patricia said smugly. You can't stop what's coming. A noise at the door made them turn. Commander Zorax entered with 4 armed guards. The human speaks truth to the council. Zorax hissed in anger. Our plan is exposed. Activate the bombs now. The guards raised their weapons. John fired first, diving for cover as energy beams crisscrossed the room. The fate of Earth hung by a thread as the 2 battles, one of words in the council chamber and one of weapons in the control room, reached their climax. Energy beams flashed across the control room as John ducked behind a console. Allison and Frank took cover behind another station. Commander Zorax and his guards advanced, firing steadily. Keep them busy. Allison shouted to John. Frank, and I need more time. John fired back, forcing the Drakari to take cover. Patricia used the distraction to slip away toward another exit. The traitor is escaping, Frank called out. Let her go, John replied. Stopping those bombs is all that matters now. In the council chamber, Samantha stood her ground as representatives shouted questions and accusations. Grand Arbiter Korlax finally restored order. You claimed the Drakari plan to destroy Earth without council approval, Sorlax said. Do you have proof? My friends are in the Drakari control room right now, Samantha answered. But you don't need to wait for their evidence. Send your own security teams to check. The bombs are real, and they will detonate in less than 4 hours. Ambassador Drex hissed angrily. This is a human trick. They hope to delay our vote with these wild claims. What would I gain by lying? Samantha asked the council. If you vote to destroy Earth, at least do it openly. Don't let the Drakari decide for you. Representative Ellerin spoke up. I move that we dispatch security teams to investigate these claims immediately. Seconded, said the luminary representative. Sorlax nodded. So ordered. The vote is postponed until this matter is resolved. In the control room, the firefight continued. One of Zorax's guards fell to John's precise shooting. Allison and Frank worked frantically at the console. I found something, Frank exclaimed. The bombs need a final authorization code to arm completely. Can you block it? Allison asked. Maybe, if I can access the transmission array. A stray energy beam hit near them, showering them with sparks. Frank winced but kept working. Almost there, he muttered. Keith suddenly appeared at another entrance. He had circled around to reach them. He fired at the Drakari from behind, creating confusion. Zorax roared in anger. Activating manual override, he shouted, pressing a device on his arm. No, Frank yelled. He's bypassing the system. Allison looked at the display. The countdown is accelerating. 1 hour left, not 4. Keith ran to join them. Samantha convinced the council to investigate. Security teams are on their way. They won't get here in time, John said grimly. Frank suddenly straightened up. Wait, I can't stop the countdown, but I can redirect the detonation signals. What does that mean? Keith asked. Instead of targeting Earth and our solar system, I can make the bombs target the Drakari fleet. Allison finished, understanding immediately. Frank nodded and began typing rapidly. It's their technology. The signals will follow Drakari protocols. They'll never expect us to turn their weapons against them. Zorax seemed to realize what they were doing. Stop them, he ordered his remaining guards. John and Keith fired steadily, keeping the Drakari pinned down. Meanwhile, Council security forces arrived, surrounding the room from all sides. Drop your weapons by order of the Grand Council, an official voice announced. The fighting stopped. Zorax looked trapped but defiant. It is done, Frank said quietly. The signals are redirected. The security forces took everyone into custody and escorted them back to the council chamber. There, Samantha was still answering questions from curious representatives. Grand Arbiter Korlax looked at the assembled humans and Drakari. We have confirmed the existence of unauthorized weapons. Commander Zorax, you have violated our most sacred laws. Humans are a threat that you are too weak to face, Zorax replied bitterly. The bombs have been neutralized, Allison announced. They now target only Drakari ships, not Earth. Zorax's scales paled. He hurriedly tried to use his arm device, but Keith had removed it during their capture. Too late, Frank said. Minutes later, reports came in of explosions throughout the system, exactly where the Drakari fleet had been hiding. The council deliberated briefly. Then Sorlax spoke again. In light of these events, and the courage shown by these humans to save even those who would destroy them, I call for a new vote. The council members voted one by one. When finished, Sorlax announced the result. The council has decided. Earth will be welcomed into the galactic community. The human experiment is concluded, not in failure, but in unexpected success. Samantha stepped forward. On behalf of Earth, we accept. Frank whispered to Allison, we have so much to tell everyone back home. John smiled. That secret meeting of the Galactic Council. Turns out humans were meant to know after all.